South Korean novelist Cheon Myeong-kwan's Whale has been shortlisted for the 2023 International Booker Prize. Whale is the story of an ambitious woman who turns from a mountain village girl with a mute daughter to a small-town entrepreneur. For more on this Korean piece, we're joined by Miss Beth Hong. She's from the Korea Herald. Welcome to the program.
Hello, it's great to be here today.
Good morning, thanks for joining us. Now, first off, the book was first published back in 2004, but it was only recently translated into English. Now, why do you think the book is earning global recognition now, especially after all that 19 years? Is that because of the English translation?
Well, certainly, whenever a literary work is translated into English, it becomes accessible to a much wider audience. But to zoom in on this book in particular, something I've noticed over the past few years is greater interest in Korean fantasy and magical realism. So specifically, works that juxtapose magical realism or fantastical elements with social critique have been attracting more critical attention over the last few years. For example, on the International Booker Prize shortlist last year, we saw the short story collection Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung and translated by Anton Her. It's a collection that incorporates elements of magical realism, horror, and science fiction to highlight patriarchy and capitalism in modern society. And in a similar vein, we see magical realism utilized in Whale to satirize some of the patriarchal and brutally capitalist elements in Korean society, especially in the aftermath of the Korean War. As mentioned earlier, it's a multi-generational saga set on a remote Jeju village in the 1950s and follows the lives of three mythical female characters. And this is kind of just a fun aside, but a fun element to consider behind this book's visibility is K-pop band BTS's member RM. RM is actually known for his love of books to the point where there's a website and Twitter account dedicated to his book recommendations. And actually back in 2020, RM mentioned that he wanted to read this book during a live stream. And then the Korean language book resurfaced in a 2021 bookshelf photo and Instagram story. So there's that to consider as well.
Right. Language accessibility has definitely attracted more audiences, but also thanks to RM from BTS. Now, the translator of the book, Kim Ji-young, has also been credited, which speaks about the importance of translation. Now, what makes translation so crucial when enjoying novels and good pieces? I mean, what makes good translation good?
Well, when it comes to literary translation, translations spend countless hours deliberating over style, tone, pace, and cultural nuances that go far beyond the literal word-by-word translation. In the case of Whale, translator Kim Ji-young has said in interviews that she wanted to make sure that Cheon Myeong-kwan's humor was properly conveyed in English. But we know that humor is actually extremely tricky to translate, and so she had to pay particular attention to the cadence of the jokes and specific word choices to convey the book's satiric tone. And on top of that, Kim Ji-young also reportedly translated a bulk of the work over 10 months in 2020 during peak COVID, which was fueled not only by the lockdown, but by her genuine love for the original book. So I think this gets at what makes a good translation. It's the translator's true desire to convey the spirit of an author's work to a wider audience because the work itself speaks so deeply to them as the translator.
Right, and not only her expertise, but also her passion and also ambitions on translation. Now, this is the fourth time a South Korean author has made it to the international prize, with after Hangang's The Vegetarian and The White Book in 2016 and 2018, respectively. Now, what does it say about South Korean novels and their presence in the world that they have proved themselves to be good pieces in any language?
Yeah, I think we can definitely say that Korean literature has moved into the global spotlight in the past decade and gained rightful recognition for being excellent pieces on their own. As actually the host of a podcast about Korean books for an English-speaking audience, I've heard from listeners who are Korean literature fans from as far as the UK and Amsterdam. And in the past 10 years, almost 24 Korean authors have been honored at global literary awards, according to the Literature Translation Institute of Korea. And the LTI estimates that 150 Korean literary works were printed overseas in 27 languages last year with its support. So we're seeing also a much more diverse range of genres being published and recognized on a global scale, from science fiction and fantasy to thrillers and even graphic novels. So we can definitely see the growing presence of Korean books and authors also at festivals around the world. Most recently at this year's Brisbane Writers Festival in Australia, where South Korea was actually featured as the country of focus.
Right, good translations are always a good news for bookworms and book lovers. All right,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth, so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, everyone. See you.